Hello and welcome to Millennial Money Mindset. If you want the fruits, you need the roots. Thanks so much for joining us. We're going to go through one of the most impactful game-changing theories that I've come across. So I love to read. You can see I've got loads of books behind me. I've wrote the book Millennial Money Mindset and referenced loads of books. And I'm writing my second book, Football Finances. And sometimes I stumble across these kind of mind-blowing concepts or theories that have been undiscovered. So what I'm doing here is essentially giving you the access to some of these theories or some of these kind of game-changing kind of concepts that I come up with. So you're ready to unlock a new level of understanding, connect with people on a different level, or give you the power to navigate your relationships, making smarter financial decisions. Well, stay right here because this is exactly what we're going to do. Today, we're going to talk about a concept called spiral dynamics, which sounds a bit, I don't know, when I first heard of it, I didn't even know what it was about, but I've studied it and I've kind of come across it. Like basically, it's blown my mind. So I really want to do a video and a YouTube channel, record this for my YouTube channel and podcast and share with you the kind of insights that I've come across. It comes from a book, Spiral Dynamics by Don Beck and Christopher Cohen. So it's not my theory, it's them. So essentially, a lot of my work, I stand on the shoulders of giants. And essentially, I'm just giving this to you, some of their kind of concepts and theories. But yeah, it's totally blown my mind and it's really impacted my work. So really wanted to share with you. It's going to give you a deeper understanding. I feel like as if someone's uncovered the origins of species back in like 1850s by Charles Darwin. But yeah, this is kind of blown my mind. I almost use this kind of model daily now. It reminds me a bit like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but on steroids. So, and if you want to get more money in your pocket, time in your day and happiness in your life, then this concept is going to really help you out. So essentially, why should you use it? So if you're confused about politics, so why, if you're thinking to yourself, why did Donald Trump get elected the president of the United States? Why did Brexit happen? Why have we got such a mess in the UK at the moment? Spiral dynamics, this concept explains all this. Essentially it's different levels of human development. So we all have different levels of development going back to hundreds of thousands of years up to the present day. And I've basically got this model and I've kind of tracked it out here on this whiteboard. If you're listening to this on the podcast, then you might have to quickly look on YouTube, Millennial Money Mindset, or have a look on, just Google spiral dynamics, and it will show you this kind of model in a really great kind of easy to understand diagram. So basically, there's 8 different levels and each one builds on the other one. So it starts off at a real basic level and it builds on like a spiral, or think it almost like an onion. So it's got the core of our understanding, and as you develop and as you grow, you essentially get another level of development think of it like an onion, each layer of skin of this onion until you've got an outer layer, and it can build on each other. Or like a ring of a tree. If you ever see like a tree that's been cut down, you can see these rings that kind of build on each other. And this model is essentially like that. It's a spiral, and each level builds on each other. So it's basically and as you grow through each of these levels, you're going to see the world differently depending on your stage of development. And you have to have the first level before you can get to the second level. So before you walk as a child, then you need to run. Then after you walk, then you run. And then you do more complicated running, like playing a game of football, for instance. So you can't play football without being able to walk. So each level builds on each other. And essentially there's 8 levels, and we're going to go through 6 levels today. So stay right to the end. This is probably a more advanced level, but if you can understand this is going to have a massive impact on your life, your investing, your happiness, and your relationships to others. So yeah, it's kind of blown my mind, but let's get right into this. So essentially it's 8 different levels, but we're going to go through 6 of them today. So there's tier 1, which is the first 6 levels, and then tier 2, which is the next level, next 2 levels. And to make it even easier, each level has a color to make it even easier. So you've got beige, then you've got purple, then you've got red, then you've got blue, then you've got orange, then you've got green. These colors are not going to mean anything to you now, but we're going to explain each one so you can understand, and you can understand where you are in the spiral, and then you can basically work on yourself to move up a spiral, up a level in the spiral. So just a caveat, this is, it's not my work, it's someone else's work. You have to understand that there's no right or wrong here. There's no level is better than the other, and there's, depending on where you were born, depending on if you were born in a rich country, you're going to have a much it's going to be much easier to move up the spiral than, say, if you were born and you're struggling to have food or water, or even just kind of meet the basic needs. It's going to be harder for you to move up the spiral. And it's also historical as well. So we're today in 2023, it's much easier to move up the spiral than it would have been 10, 20, even 100 years ago. So let's get into this spiral as we speak. So the first level is the color beige, and this is basically started hundreds of thousands of years ago. If you think of when we were kind of cave people, we were running around kind of living hand to mouth, and we were basically surviving on basically meeting our basic needs. So we would live for the day. We wouldn't even think about where we're going to be in 5 years' time, where we're going to be in 10 years' time, because we were just finding food for the day. And that was basically all we were could basically, that was basically, these are levels of consciousness, how aware you are about yourself and people around you and the world around you. And so essentially this level beige, so today the people who might be in beige might be babies, for instance. So they're very much living hand to mouth. They don't have any awareness of the world. They just have to essentially, you basically need to feed themselves, and that's all they are. Potentially a homeless person might be kind of focusing on their daily needs, basically going to be looking for shelter, looking for food, and they're not thinking a year ahead, 2 years ahead. You've got to basically do what you need to survive. And this is kind of instinctual. You're not really thinking about anything more. You're not really thinking about your higher needs. You're basically just thinking about where you are in the moment. This is beige. So very few, and today about 1% of the world's population is in this level. That's the very start of the spiral. The next level up is purple. And this is basically we started developing this about 50,000 years ago, and about 1% of the population, the world population, is in purple. And the way each level moves up, they swing like a pendulum between individuals and collective, social. So when we had beige, you were very individual. You were very focused on yourself. You're focused on your basic needs. And once you move to the next level, the pendulum swings back to collective society. And so the main focus of purple, the second level, is safety of the collective. And you're basically thinking about, it's very tribal. So if you think back to potentially an example of this would be Native Americans, where they were very much part of a tribe. They were very much together. They were very much collective. They would go out and look after each other. And if you got lost or you moved away from that tribe, you wouldn't be able to survive, because all of your food, your safety, your shelter was basically in the tribe, with collective in the tribe. So this is it's part of the kind of the mindset behind this. Is also the mindset was very kind of almost they call it the enchanted forest, or you almost kind of there's a big belief in the kind of the spirit power. So if you think of Native Americans, or potentially people in the Amazon rainforest today, they might have beliefs about they don't know about science, they don't know about technology, and they think potentially that if there's a thunderstorm, perhaps they think that thunderstorm is created by the gods, or they might think there's kind of spirits that create these. This is the mindset behind the thinking in level purple. So as we said, this was like 50,000 years ago when people had this thinking. This is where people's thoughts were. They didn't have education, they didn't have science, they didn't have the people who were in your troop or your tribe were the people who you lived with, and you didn't know anything else. You didn't know there was people around different continents. You might not know there was no air, there was no cars to go and visit other places. There was no trains or aeroplanes. So what you knew was just what was in the tribe, and a lot of your information was from people telling stories or people making up stories around the campfire potentially. So this it was an example in the book is what they say. They talk about this as like an enchanted forest. Basically, this is the thinking behind that. So very few people, only 1% of the population, the world population, is like this today. And that's the second level, and that's purple. And then we move up to the next level, which is color red. And this is all about dominance, power. And it's about a good example of this is maybe Genghis Khan. And this was around 10,000 years ago when people were, people were maybe like the Vikings would be another good example where they would go they wouldn't care about other people. They would just go raid a village, take their food, take their women, take their tools or whatever, and they would basically just take what they were after would be for themselves. And that was their thinking, that was their kind of mindset behind think of Genghis Khan or think of the Vikings. And this is kind of 10,000 years ago, and this was the kind of the dominance thinking around that. And as we kind of evolved, as we had education, then we move up to the next level. But with this red, as we said, it's gone back to the individual. So as you don't really care about anyone else, you don't really care. The tribe becomes less important because, as we said, the pendulum swings back to the individual. So in this level purple, it was all about the collective. It was all about the tribe, and it was all about other people, where the pendulum swings back to the individual. So each level it moves up, the pendulum swings back and forward, and this is a different level of thinking, and each layer builds on each other. So the beige builds on the purple builds on the red. And another good example of this is Donald Trump. So Donald Trump people might think, how did he get into as the American president? And he's got a very mindset of this red. He very kind of almost epitomizes the red of just going in, dominating, destroying everything, not thinking about other people, not thinking about kind of the future, not thinking about the kind of the tribe, or not thinking about the collective. And it's a very mindset, it's a very kind of a dominating and power mindset. This is the level red. So next level up is blue, and blue essentially is all about order, tradition, values. And this might be a way to explain this would be in the 15th century, in the kind of the Christian church is very like, the book is the Bible, and you have to follow the Bible very by law, by anything that's outside of the Bible is not correct. And or another example might be kind of fundamental Islam, and it's very much this kind of blue mentality. It's all about order, it's all about rules, it's all about traditional values, and this is the blue kind of mindset. And as we've come from the red, the dominance, and that was the individual, we've swung back again to the collective, to the group, and this is blue. And the one thing that kind of summarizes this is a cathedral. So by working together, they've built this kind of church, this huge cathedral, and it's built by working together. It's built in order, using rules. Today, an example of this might be Saudi Arabia or kind of Middle East, where actually it's very traditional. It's very rules are set in stone. You can't go out of the rules. There's no kind of you don't have that a much of an individual point of view. It's very much a traditional value, conservative. The conservative government has a lot of this blue mentality still in it. So the conservative government in the UK. So about 40% of the world's population is made up of this blue mentality. So a vast majority of the world has this blue mentality, and it's what makes the world go round. We've got very ordered society. We have very much traditional values, and in maybe the American heartland, you have maybe the Mormons, or kind of this traditional way of looking at the world. And as this and maybe this emerged about 1,000 years ago. So if you think about 1,000 years ago, where people started having religion in Christianity, etc., that this is where the blue mentality started. And the next level is orange. So orange is where the individual comes back into play. So as a pendulum swings to and fro, you had the blue where it was very collective, and now we move back to the orange individual. And the orange individual, the thing that summarizes the orange individual is the marketplace. And this is where the capitalist society really starts to come in its own. So it first emerged around 150 years ago, probably a bit more than that. I think it probably emerged around the Industrial Revolution in the UK, where people started thinking, actually, we can start making money, we can start making buying goods for ourselves, we can start living in a bit more comfort, we can start buying goods, services, buying shoes for ourselves, and actually buying more things, and you actually starting wanting to have more stuff and collect more goods for yourself, make more money. And it's all about achievement, and a lot of it's about science and technology. So this is the mindset, and all these build on each other. So once you've got the blue mentality, then you've moved to orange mentality. And the main thing about here is the marketplace, and it's all about achievement. And a real great the thing that sums up this orange mentality would be Wall Street. So if you think of a city broker, or I used to work for a gas company that was very profit driven. It was all about profits. It wasn't really about the environment. We didn't really care about the environment. We were just about profits. It was all the bottom line of the profits. And this is very much an orange mentality. This builds on the previous level of blue, and it swings back to the orange is very individual. And then the final stage we're going to go through today is green, and then we finally move to green. So once you're in orange and you realize, actually, buying more stuff doesn't make me more happy. Buying a Ferrari, I'm not as satisfied as buying a Ferrari. It's more about having friendship, it's more about collective, it's more about being in a community. Then that you finally move to a mindset of green. And the word that sums up this is a commune, or basically a collective people, or a really good example of green. If you want to see what the green mentality is in this spiral dynamics model, Glastonbury is a really good example. So Glastonbury is a festival in Somerset in England, and it's held most years. I've gone many times. I've gone 5 or 6 times, and it's all about peace and love and collective working together. So this kind of sums up the very green mentality that this level comes from. So we had the very individual stage of orange and all about the profit, and now it's swung back to the green mentality, and it's about society, it's about equality, it's about diversity, it's about the planet. So it's about a country that might be really good to sum up about this is Norway, for instance, or Scandinavian countries where they've got really good society support mechanisms for you. They've got hospitals, they've got homeless shelters, they've got lots of things that are going to help the community, the collective. And it's all about thinking about the environment. About 10% of the world at the moment is in green, this green mindset. And you basically, all these levels build on each other. And this is the first, what known as the first tier, what is known by this model called spiral dynamics. And so this model here is probably a good example. So you start off at the bottom here, you've got what we call beige, then that beige moves up and you've got purple. So once you've worked out how to figured out purple, then you move up to red, then it builds on red, then you move to blue, then you've got orange, then you've got green, and then this is the first tier. This is all the first tier here. Then you move to, this is the second tier, yellow, turquoise, I believe coral. But very few people. I looked at how many people were in yellow, or the global population, and it's 0.01, and turquoise, the global population that is in turquoise is 0.0001. So very few people. So we're not going to cover this today. If you're interested in knowing more about this, I can cover this in another video. But what we're going to cover today is how this relates to your investing. So understanding this model can be really impactful for your investing and your investing knowledge. So let's go through essentially what this means for you and for your investing. I've also got a screen share here. So let's just summarize with this screen share. So we've got at the bottom, you've got survival, beige, then you've got purple, which is security. Then you move up, you transcend to the next level, which is red, which is all about power and energy. And then blue is all about order, traditions, value. Then the next stage up is the orange, where you've got success and individual profit. Then it swings back into community, where it's all about society, equality, diversity. And then it goes into yellow, which is the next stage up, which is tier 2, which is all about systems, synergy, and actually putting things together. And then it swings back into turquoise, holistic. But we're not going to cover that today, as we said. How does this relate to your investing? So if you think about the beige, so each level, it's about building up and understanding your mindset. And I think the way I think about it is classes. So in beige, you've got a vision of the world, which is all about how do I meet my basic needs? How can I feed my water? I think that it's a bit like spending less than you earn. From a financial point of view, if you're living for the day, if you go to work and you're spending more than you're earning, then you're going to get into a downward spiral. You're not going to be able to meet your basic needs. You're not going to be able to put food on the table because you're spending more than you're earning. And this is going to put you into a downward spiral. And then you're not going to be able to think long term. You're not going to be able to save any money. You're not going to be able to actually get yourself in a good place where anything bad happens, you're going to be pretty in the doldrums. If anything bad happens, you're not going to be able to cover yourself without an emergency fund. And that's beige. Then the next level is purple. And I think purple is, we talk about this collective of the tribe, where you're finding new people. You actually come and find mentors. Maybe you find other people who've like-minded people. And this is where you actually think, actually, this investing thing is not that bad. We can actually start saving money. But the thing is about in this purple level, you've got the mindset of you haven't developed fully. So you think it's really easy. And this is where a lot of people get kind of get caught up. And what I saw happening, especially in the early days of Bitcoin, they think, easy money, we're going to make loads of money, Bitcoin to the moon. And they put their money into something like Bitcoin and they lose all their money. They think it's going to be really easy. It's you have these cognitive biases where you have where you think that you know more than you do. And it's like any skill, any beginner skill, you think you're going to know everything. It's like if you start a skill like judo, for instance, you think you're going to go out and punch, you can take on anyone, but actually you realize once you do more of this skill, you realize, actually, I don't know what I don't know. Actually, there's loads of stuff that I don't know, and I have to work on it, and I have to practice, and I have to get better. And that's kind of a bit like purple. You think that you're going to Bitcoin to the moon, and you have this kind of mindset. You have this kind of enchanted forest kind of mindset where you think that magic can happen, and you're going to instantly get a millionaire overnight, which doesn't happen. Unfortunately, it takes time to build wealth. And so the next stage up from a financial point of view is red. So what is red? So essentially, red is a bit like power, where you want to start taking. You might have got some success in the past. You might kind of got a taste for that success, and then you want to dominate. You want to think it's easy, and you want to start trading, and you're going to buy some companies, and you get excited, and you kind of got like a Viking or like Genghis Khan. You want to go and take over the world, and then you realize actually it's not as easy as that. And then then this is the kind of individual kind of mindset. And then once you grow and move up, you swing back to the collective mindset. So then you move to blue, where order, rules, and value take over. And it's about saving mentality. It's not about buying and selling single companies, because that's not going to get you very far. It's about having a saving mentality and actually putting money away and having those basic skills that are going to build up over time. And this is a bit super boring, and it's a bit of it's about having order and rules, and just by setting a certain amount every month from your wages into a savings account, having a pension, maybe putting a money aside to build a deposit for a house. This is kind of the basic. This is what a very blue mentality is what I would see. And then once you move up, you swing back from the collective back to the individual, and you move to an orange level. And an orange level would be all about profit and gaining and trying to beat the market, or taking on Wall Street and winning, and taking on, or even just having an index tracker where you buy all the market. You buy all the market, and this is kind of an orange mentality where, a good example of this is the USA at the moment, where you have the culture of the USA is very much an orange mentality, where you've got it's kind of achiever mentality. It's all about kind of beating the next person, fast cars, the free market, and everything you can. That's the kind of the idea about orange. And then you swing back from the kind of the individual back to the collective, and this is where you've got green. And green, you might think about, actually I want to do more for the environment. You might actually think, buying companies, actually I can buy companies that do good rather than companies that do bad. And you can you're more aware. So each level, it builds on an awareness. So when you get to green, you have a higher an awareness, and you think, actually, if I'm buying companies that do mining, you might be mining companies, or companies that produce weapons that go out to war and blow people up. This is you have more of a conscience about, actually, I don't want to be buying an index tracker, because if I'm just buying the S&P 500, the 500 biggest companies in America, the 500 biggest company includes oil companies, it includes weapons manufacturers, it includes McDonald's, for instance. These are maybe not as ethical as you want. So then you have a more of a environmental conscious, and you think, actually, what can I do to be more ethical in my environment, in my investing? And you swing back to green. So another way to benefit, how can you benefit from this model? So one of the best ways to benefit is understanding each country and where they are on their development. So if you ever think back to your geography class, you would have studied developing countries versus developed countries. So you would maybe call them rich countries and poor countries. And it's essentially, today, I don't like the term rich and poor. I think they call it economically developed. How far are they up this model? And what would a good way to invest is look at which countries are making profits. So you might be looking at, where are countries in blue at the moment and that are going to be moving to orange. So you can buy them cheaper at blue and move them and wait for them to move up to orange, and then they'll have more of a cultural mindset, all about profit. So a really good example might be to look at the Middle East at the moment. They've got a very blue mentality as a culture, but they're moving very much towards the orange way of thinking, way around profit. So if you think about Dubai at the moment, so that's part of the Middle East, which is traditionally has a very kind of blue mindset, all about orders, rules, tradition. But if you look at, they're moving now from a very blue mindset to a very orange mindset, from a very traditional mindset to a very kind of achiever mindset. So you could maybe buy countries, or the Middle East, a basket of these countries, and then you can see them going to be moving up. A way to avoid losing out is understanding that America, for instance, USA, has been a very orange mentality. It's very much achiever mindset, Wall Street, beat the market. But it's actually now moving towards are more of a green mindset. So they're becoming, as a population, as a culture, they're moving towards a more of a diversity, about equality, about society, more about each person cares more about the environment than they used to. There used to be an oil spill. There was a bit of fuss about it, but in the old days, I mean, Exxon Valdez, that happened, and there was still another oil spill with BP in the Gulf of Mexico because the regulations didn't move in strict enough, and that's a very orange mentality. And so America as a culture moving from orange to green as in this kind of this mindset here. So moving from orange to green. And there's a saying that once you get woke, you become broke. So essentially the countries that they're not as profit driven as before. I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I'm just saying this is way that the culture and the model is based. So I'm not saying this is a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just from a purely objective point of view, from looking at this model. So you're not going to make as much profits in a green country as you would as an orange country. And as an investor, you might be all about the profits. You might think, actually, so USA in 10, 20 years time, that's going to move much towards a green mindset, and it's not going to have as much profits as in if you invest in a Middle East country. Or look at the BRICS, for instance. So Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. So the Brazil would be a very much, maybe even kind of a red mentality. If you think of, is it Narcos, the drug program documentary? Not even a documentary, it's a Netflix show. That's a really good example of a red mentality, where it's kind of power dominance, where these drug lords can kind of take over, and they have this kind of shoot first and think after. That's a very good example of red, where they're going to be moving to blue and then to orange as a mindset, as a collective mindset. So yeah, hopefully that's been useful. But yeah, and as you move to green, there's going to be much more of an environmental conscience and kind of ESG, so the environmental, social, and the government. So hopefully this has been useful. So as I've said, spiral dynamics is kind of blowing my mind. It's a complicated model. Hopefully I've explained it kind of simply to you, and have a look at the different levels. But yeah, it's super interesting, and I find it really, if you can understand this, your investing can skyrocket because you understand these models, and you can invest in areas that are going to move into these kind of they're moving up the stages. And the great thing about spiral dynamics, it's not just about culture, it's about individuals. So you also will have parts of you in each level of the spiral. So you might not be in one, but you're in probably 3 of these different levels. So you might be most likely maybe in orange and green, and maybe even a bit in yellow if you're watching this video, which we can explain later on. Or you might be in blue and a bit of orange. But then you can work out, how do I move up the spiral? How can I improve myself to start thinking about actually moving up the spiral and having more awareness and having a bit more understanding about the different levels and the different stages of development. And you can work on yourself and essentially, move up the level. So hopefully that's been useful. I found this super impactful for my investing and for my mindset, and for me personally. I'm trying to move up this spiral myself, and hopefully it's been useful. It's as I said, it's a complicated model, and you might have to watch this video once or twice to actually understand it. Or there's other really great models. As again, shout out to Don Beck, Christopher Cohen. There's a really good video, actualize.org, sorry. Leo, guy, I believe the guy's name, he's done a video on each stage, and it's really good. I've listened to those videos 2 or 3 times each to try and get an understanding of this model and how you can improve your life and your investing and your relationships to others. And you can, with the relationships to others, you can, if you're say for instance interviewing someone for a job, you can work out what stage of the spiral they're at. And if you're advertising a job, you might want to have a person in a certain level in the spiral. So for instance, if you want to get improved profits, you might want to be hiring someone in the orange level. If you're hiring for a salesperson, you want to find an orange, someone who's high in orange. If you're, for instance, looking for something about a social diversity, inclusiveness, for instance, then someone probably going to be, you want to be hiring someone in green, for instance. If you are hiring for someone maybe looking at contracts or something that's got to be, that's not going to go off piste, maybe a very corporate job, then you probably want to be finding someone who's in blue. And this is going to impact, if you've got, for instance, if you're a salesperson, but you've hired a green person, they're not going to be motivated by profits. They're going to be motivated on how fair it is, how equal it is, how diversified your workplace is. So you can understand that, and each level of the spiral is essentially how you see the world. It's like having a pair of glasses. Each level you move up, you put on a different pair of glasses, and you basically see the world in a different way. You're going to have different motivations depending on the different level of spiral you're at. So this has been Spiral Dynamics and how you can benefit this from your investing. So hopefully this has unlocked a new level of understanding. It's going to transform your life. Hopefully this is going to be able to, you're going to navigate your relationships. Hopefully you're going to be able to connect with people on a different level. As I said, this is stage tier 1, and then we can talk about tier 2 in another video potentially. And that's another level of kind of interest. That's super exciting. So my name is Neil Doig. I'm the founder of Money Tips, tax, investment, property, pension, savings, and we're different. We educate, inspire, and empower you to make your own decisions with money, saving you tens of thousands of pounds compared to going to a financial advisor. I have a book called Millennial Money Mindset, which is here. Millennial Money Mindset. If you want the fruits, you need the roots. If you buy that on Amazon, we plant a tree for each book bought. We've also got loads of other books. Go to moneytips.org for all the books that we've published. We've published over 10 books. Highly recommend this life planner. Did you know that if you write down your goals, you're 42% more times likely to achieve those goals than people who haven't written down the goals? So it's designed to help you basically write down your goals, write down your aims, objectives. It's basically the ultimate tool for achieving goals and you're living your best life. So please please subscribe, please tell a friend about this channel. If you want, we release videos all the time to put money into your pocket, more time in your day, and more happiness in your life. If you want a course on investing, I'll link my investing course in the comments. And it's a 5-step method to money mindset, to put more money into your pocket, more time in your day, and more happiness in your life. What did you think about each stages of the spiral? Where are you on the stage? Do you like this model? Do you not like this model? Please put in the comments. Do you think it's a bit like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but on steroids? What I really like about it is the pendulum that swings from collective to individuals. Yeah, so thank you so much. This is it for today. Please press that like button because it really helps me out, reach more people. And yeah, thanks again, and hope to see you soon.